Hi, welcome to Phase Drive Media for another Phase Drive Vlogs. This time we are doing a Dimension CD test between a couple of Dimension C pedals and software. Just a quick reminder before we start, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, put your notifications on. We release stuff once or twice a week on various topics such as audio production, video production, photography, and kit and gear reviews and all sorts of stuff. So subscribe and get that sweet content coming through. So with me today, because I need some help on the guitar duties, I've cloned myself. And welcome to my clone, Dave.
Pretty good job they did. I think you'll agree.
Well, yeah, slightly less handsome, but there you go.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the wonder of genetics. You can't get it spot on all the time.
Right, so today we've got a Dimension C and Dimension D off. So we've got quite a lot of kit here. So let's start going through it. Obviously, guitar-wise, Deluxe Nashville Telecaster and the 60s Baja telly, and we've got a selection of various Dimension C and Dimension D clones. So
over on this side, we've got the TC Electronic Third Dimension.
Yep.
Which is here, and then here, my beloved Boss MD500, which has a Dimension C mode based on the rack mount version of things, which I think is one of the best bits of this pedal. Dimension C is really good on this.
Yeah. So I've got an original Dimension C. Ooh, yeah, I know. There's a bit of a sad story about that. We'll come to that in a minute. And then I've got the new Waza DC2W, which they released recently. We're going to be running it in SDD 320 mode, because that's basically an emulation of the rack mount, and that's what the MD500 does. And we're going to be comparing it against a very interesting piece of software from Arturia, which is their Dimension D emulation, and just see what we think. So, you know, let's kick off. So let's start off with, let's have a listen to the TC Electronic and compare it to the original Dimension C. So the story, we used to have two of these Dimension C original pedals.
Back in the day, yeah.
But like a lot of stuff, we sold one, didn't we?
Yes.
Well, and we are still regretting it.
Yes. Read a review of this thing in a Guitarist magazine at the time. It must have been 1990-ish, and at the end of the review, they really liked the pedal. They said it's Alex Lifeson in a box.
Big Alex Lifeson fan.
Huge Rush fan at the time. So I went, right, that's it, I'm having one of those, and I bought it, and it was brilliant.
Yeah,
loved it.
But nice pedal.
I went the multi-effects route and ditched it, and oh dear. That's
the story with quite a lot of our pedals, but there we go.
We're
anyway.
back on track on the individual little boxes thing, so
Yeah,
really good. Really glad to have it.
We've now made a pact never to sell any pedal, however it is. We're still going to keep it. Don't care. We used to have colour sound stuff and it was ropey, but you see the prices now, just ridiculous. Anyway, there you go.
No selling a pedal.
So anyway, let's switch onto our bridge pickups and let's start off. So we're going to run it on position 1 and then position 3. We're not going to go through all the positions because that was 8 hours. So let's hear the TC Electronic on position 1.
And then position 3. There's a thing with the TC Electronic.
You can't bloody tell.
Yeah, you can't tell when the buttons are pushed in because you can push them all in. You can have all 4 buttons in.
the original Dimension DC2 in mode 1. Mode 3.
Nice.
I'm getting my goosebumps.
Nice.
Oh, that's just so gorgeous. Gorgeous.
I think given the price of the TC, which is what, about 40 quid? Or
I think
something?
it was, yeah.
It's pretty good impression.
Let's just have it in mode 3 again. Just
Right.
the same course. Just have, I just want to see. Right.
It's not as rich, I don't think, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, it doesn't also, because it's not stereo, I know it's going into the MD500 and that coming out stereo, because it's not true stereo, it doesn't quite have the width
No, it's
and the ring that does. But it's, I mean,
It's pretty good.
yeah, not bad for 49 quid. So, yeah, original Dimension C versus TC Electronic Third Dimension, there's not a massive gap in it, is there?
But the DC2 definitely takes it. It's,
Yeah, but
it's a warmth and a breadth to it that you don't really
But
get.
what would you pay for a DC2 now? Original second hand? Probably 300-400 quid?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for the tenth of the price, it's certainly not a tenth as good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice big, and it's built like a blinking tank. Very simple, very straightforward. All analog. So, yeah, pretty good
Not
stuff.
bad.
Right, shall we move on to our good friend, the I think it's the Dimension D, isn't it? The rack mount version. Yeah, Dimension D. So we've got the, like I say, with the MD500. We're going to run mode 1 and mode 3 again, and what we'll do first, we'll compare the MD500 to the software, and then do the same with the Waza Craft in Dimension D mode. But let's hear the MD500 in 1 and 3. Interesting. Between that, going back to that versus the DC2, the original DC2, it's got the drier sound of the rack mount unit. Definitely, it hasn't got quite the lush tone.
Yeah, it's more kind of trebly, kind of sparkly.
Yeah, it's much
sort
more
of
kind of astringent.
sound to it.
But yeah, I like it. Let's just have a look at the switch in your. So this is the Arturia one on mode 1. Okay. Okay, interesting. A lot kind of drier and slightly more muted than that. It's got more kind of top end.
more subtle. And bear in mind, we did some tweaking with the MD500 because the levels were just so high. So we brought the levels down, the effect level, direct level. It's on -6 dB. and it's still pretty
Pokey.
forward.
Yeah.
I prefer. I think I prefer the sound of that. It's a bit less subtle, but quite like it.
Yeah, interesting. Let's have a look at the good old Wazacraft. So this is the new Wazacraft version in SDD 320 mode. Oh, I love that.
Nice.
I love that. Right, let's try mode 3. Wow. I love that.
That
Right.
sounds more like the
MD500.
MD500.
Yeah. Do the good old Arturia. See how that sounds. Not too far off, actually. I mean,
It's more subtle,
yeah,
a little more restrained.
the
Subtle
pedals
light.
definitely got more top end and more kind of shimmer and kind of that kind of nice kind of top end. But I think they've done a pretty good job. And you've got within this, you've also got all this kind of tweakability that you can change the waveform, you can change the dynamic color of it, you can change the stereo width and the mix. So there's a lot of kind of under the hood tweakability to kind of change the sound. And of course, you can run 10 copies in a project if you want. So for that, it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm reasonably impressed with that. Shall we have a look at MD500 versus its contemporary? Okay.
I think I prefer the Waza.
Yeah.
I think the Waza sounds better.
Bit more-
It might be your pickups, but the Waza just.
Again, it's a lot of variation here between there's the pickups. Dave is going direct into the direct ins at the back. I'm going in through a direct box, passive box. So that could account for the slight differences.
Yeah.
But they're pretty close. They're pretty damn close. Certainly, I mean, I think there's a bigger difference between the plugins versus the hardware. I think the plugins seem to be losing a bit of top end, which you could probably compensate for with a Q, but they don't have quite the kind of bright top end shimmer that these two do. But there's not a lot between it, not a massive amount. So yeah, but yeah, the Arturia stuff does a job, doesn't it? Final thoughts, Dave.
Would like to compare the rack mount mode with the normal mode.
You want to just do compare the two modes on the Waza?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So
right.
classic mode on the Waza versus the original pedal should be pretty much the same. Which one was that?
That was the standard analog mode
For what, on the Waza?
on the Waza.
Right.
So this is the Dimension D mode.
Yeah, definitely more sparkly, a bit more top end.
So I think the thing about the two modes on the Wazacraft is that the normal traditional DC2 mode sounds a lot warmer and fuller than the Dimension D rack mount mode, which sounds to me a little bit more dry and thin and
A bit more sparkle. I quite like
Yeah.
the top end sparkle.
I quite like the warmth and the fullness of the traditional kind of analog mode, if you like. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, I like both. I think that, there's going to be times when you've got a situation to use both sort of types of tone.
I'm sticking with the MD500 because it's a lot of. It sort of saves a lot of pedalboard real estate to have all those effects in that unit, and it does the Dimension really well. It's quite sort of forward sound. It's quite sparkly, quite trebly, and you can roll off the tone of that. I've got an EQ that I can roll the tone off with it.
So is there quite a lot of tweakability even on those kind of settings?
On the Dimension mode, there's not a massive amount of tweakability. There's no actual tonal tweaking available, which is a bit unusual because on most patches you can roll off top end and low end. You can do like a parametric EQ thing, and they don't have that on the. It's very much like the pedal. It's just on off for different modes.
I think that's in some ways the advantage of the Arturia version. You've got quite a lot of tweakability. Because you've even got a kind of random mode for the oscillator shape, for example. Let's just have a look at that. Actually, so that's the default. So if I set the oscillator shape to what I think is random. Maybe not.
That's interesting.
But yeah, you've got also this. Almost like a kind of phasing vibe.
Yeah.
On that. So, and then you've got these dynamic colour versions. You've got smooth and saturated. So let's just try a smooth.
That's heading in the sort of the analog pedal version of it. So.
And you can change the stereo. So there's quite a lot of tweakability on that. Do you want to have a play with some of those?
I think you've covered it.
So I think that's the advantage of the software version, is that kind of level of tweakability and the fact that you can have multiple versions across multiple tracks, and so I think that will get used, as well as these two all the pedal versions. But yeah, interesting. So just a quick rundown on a couple of things. In terms of what we're using, we're both going through Waza Caliburn Marshall Sim. We've got it set on, I think, on the 1960 straight Marshall for a clean tone. And we're running slightly different cab sim. I think Dave's on a 4x12.
Good old 4x12.
So yeah, we're both using the Dr. Bonkers PZM cabs. Again, I know, yeah. Go figure. Dave's on a 4x12, and I'm on a Dirty Shirley again, 1x12 Dirty Shirley. And yeah, great cab. So there you go. So I think that's about it for the Dimension C and Dimension D off. Very interesting. I just love the sound. I mean, I think I'm kind of still leaning towards the original pedal because it's just got something. I mean, that's the only one that made my kind of hair stand up. And it's got that really it's perfect chorus in a box, basically. That to me is difficult to do. But the Waza is a really good flexible pedal. It's got much more kind of tonal options on it. And the ND500, yeah, nice, very nice, and it puts out a nice beefy signal as well.
Yeah, it's a very beefy signal, and you've got 12 other effects on it, and you can combine. So you can combine 2 different effects at once. So you can have 2 dimensions running in series or something like that, in stereo. So
nice.
You can make some really good sounds on this.
The other thing that I think it does a script phase emulation.
Yes.
So we might look at that on another episode because we've got a Phase 95 Mini. We've got the original Phase 90, I think, in our collection somewhere. And also there's a couple of emulations, like SK Note doing an emulation for Phase 90. So we might have a look at that as another episode. But I think that covers off our dimension off.
Yeah, that's as much dimension as you can fit into
This dimension.
Yeah. We're all dimensioned out, man.
That's it from us for this episode. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. Again, don't forget to subscribe if you want those regular updates. And we'll see you on the next one. So I think, we've got a couple of other real pedal versus sim pedal comparisons coming up. So keep an eye out. That's all from us.
That's all from me.
That's all from him. See you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.